All right, welcome everybody. Hello. This is the Unlocking Retail Innovation with AI Insights and Perspectives from NRF 2025. So today's webinar is sponsored by Dell Technologies and produced by SmartBrief. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from SmartBrief, and I'm excited to be your moderator for this especially timely presentation right on the heels of the National Retail Federation's annual Big Show. Now, before we get to today's great discussion, we have a few housekeeping items that are going to help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in your webinar control panel. So not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, but we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you ask. That Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues that you might be experiencing. A browser refresh will fix most audio, video, or slide advancement issues. But if that doesn't work, just let us know in the Q&A and we'll provide further technical assistance. Now, second, there's a handout section there. You can find a link to Dell Technologies as well as the prize terms and conditions, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But I also know all three of our panelists today are eager to hear from you on LinkedIn. So if you want to follow up with these folks, just find them on LinkedIn and reach out. And then also we have a prize for one lucky attendee. It's there's a $250 Amazon gift card. Speaking of retail, that'll go to one winner. Of course, you must be in attendance to qualify for the prize. Again, the terms and conditions are there in the handout section. We'll announce that prize winner at the end. Okay. With that housekeeping out of the way, let's get to today's timely discussion. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to our presenters today from Dell Technologies. All three of them are just back from NRF 2025 in New York City last week. So we're really looking forward to what they have to report from the show floor and just their insights in general. So our panelists are Cindy Carlson, who's Retail Industry Solutions Field Director. We have Doug Miller, Retail Field Director for North America, and David Waddell, who's Retail Field Director for North America. So let me bring those three on. Cindy, David, Doug, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. All right, well, Cindy, I'll turn things over to you to take it away.
All righty, thank you. Welcome everyone to 2025. We are thrilled to host an engaging discussion on how retailers are leveraging AI to revolutionize retail. As we delve into the transformational era, we will highlight NRF 2025 and demonstrate the pivotal role Dell Technologies plays in advancing AI in retail. By providing cutting-edge technology and infrastructure, Dell empowers retailers to harness the power of data and analytics, enabling them to deliver personalized customer experiences, optimize supply chains, and enhance operational efficiencies. Retailers that embrace AI to transform how they operate, engage customers, and innovation will lead their organizations. We are excited to explore these advancements with you today. My name is Cindy Carlson, and my background in retail includes infrastructure and packaged software at Target Corporation, where I gained extensive experience in building and maintaining robust technology systems for large-scale operations. I transitioned to consulting, leading supply chain and category management initiatives, where I had the opportunity to partner with customers to drive efficiencies. I currently serve as a retail field director for Dell Technologies, where I get to consult and focus on leveraging advanced technologies such as AI, computer vision, edge computing, and digital and data transformations to help businesses drive impactful results. Now I'll hand it off to my peer, Doug Miller. Doug, do you want to do an introduction?
Yeah, Cindy, thank you so much. That was excellent. So my background, I've been in the industry, the IT industry, for about 30 years now. So in the last 12, I've been here at Dell as really a product solution consultant. In the last couple of years here on the retail team. So extensive experience in the industry with retail customers across the Midwest, and just an exciting time to be in the industry coming off of NRF. It's the most exciting time I've seen in many years. So very happy to be here today and share with you what we learned at NRF. Thank you. And I'm going to hand it
Great.
off to my other counterpart, David Waddell.
Hey, Doug, Cindy, thank you very much. Yeah, the three of us had a great time at NRF, learned a lot, shared a lot. I've, like my counterparts here, I've got over 35 years of experience in rendering technology at the service of solution provision to the retail sector, with a particular emphasis on computer vision and analytics and AI. So it's a pleasure to be with you today, and we look forward to sharing what we learned there and what Dell is providing to the marketplace today.
All right. Thanks, guys. Let's get started. So, Doug, can you share the AI journey retailers are on and what you heard on how they are getting there at NRF? And then can you also share a few examples of use cases that we discussed with retailers at NRF?
Yeah, I mean, great question, Cindy. So, as you might imagine, every retailer that we talk with is on a different path in their journey. And it all comes down to the category of retailer they are, what competitors they're faced with, what their challenges are, be it labor cost, be it customer experience. They all have a kind of a different business outcomes that they're driving towards. But what I've learned in talking in the last couple of weeks at NRF and here this week in debriefing with customers is it kind of falls in two categories: operational efficiency, and then more customer facing type solutions when it comes to AI, and specific examples around operational efficiencies that I think all of us heard, Cindy, David, and myself consistently was, really associate training and enabling associates, enabling them with training. Certainly, there's a fair amount of turnover in the retail industry, so to get that associate, that employee up and running faster, giving them the confidence and to do their job. And by the way, we heard from multiple retailers that when employee satisfaction goes up when you give them those tools, and they tend to be better employees. And by the way, that trickles down to the customer experience. So that's one category. The other is, really enabling associates with tools, not just from a training perspective, but also in specific examples where, okay, maybe a certain customer comes into a store, they have a very specific question. You've got 12 associates in the store and one associate that can answer a very specific question. In this case, it's a home improvement store. We've all been in those situations. There's very few people that can answer specific questions about plumbing, as an example. But when you give that person or that associate the tools, a device with maybe a digital assistant that can assist them to answer the customer's question, that gives them a lot of power and a lot of I guess positive experiences as an employee, to really give them the confidence to address questions, whatever comes their way. So we've seen retailers equipping their associates with these tools so that they can be that much more efficient, and it's directly impacting the customer experience. So those, and then the other category is really around product design. We're starting to see collaboration with our retailers, where they're leveraging AI for product design to share designs, virtually, globally, and leveraging AI to be more efficient in that collaborative experience. So those are kind of three categories that we saw, and kind of themes that we saw coming out of NRF, Cindy.
Oh, great. Thank you. David, do you want to share some of the additional themes that you saw?
Yeah, Doug used an interesting term, the journey, and our customers, whether they're a QSR, a quick serve restaurant, a C-store, a big box retailer, a grocer, or a specialty retailer, they're all in a separate place on their journey and have different requirements. That really struck me in the booth, and attenuating that message wasn't hard because the things that we were showing at NRF, all the way from helping them in their AI journey with the AI factory, which we'll get into, or a digital assistant, or a digital twin, or computer vision, or video synopsis and search and summarization, any of those pieces, they were all at the service of how the retailer is starting to identify specific requirements. First of all, they're starting to figure out they're sitting on a whole bunch of data, and they need to organize that data, store that data, and utilize that data in a way that's appropriate to supporting everything Doug mentioned, decisions about product creation, product availability, replenishment, assisting in forecasting demand, and helping to manage the business better based on both real-time and forensic historic data, sometimes even including the weather. A couple of really interesting examples there about how weather influences, and being able to pull historical models now and bring that all together. So AI is really assisting retailers determine a whole host of factors. For a grocer, how many registers need to be open? If they're using self-checkout, how many of those should be open at one time? Do they need to be staffed? Are there categories of brands that are being merchandised more appropriately in an aisle or an end cap than in another space? So all of that to improve the overall experience for both associate and the customer is very important, and it's that experience that makes shareholders very happy as well. Happy associates make for happy customers.
Thank you, David. Yeah, so it sounds like retailers worldwide are on varied journeys. They're all trying to leverage AI to enhance customer experiences, improve net promoter scores, figure out ways to streamline employee and customer operations while improving profitability. While the degree of innovation and adoption differs, the focus is consistent, using AI as a strategic lever to stay competitive. So let's now move into digital twins and capabilities. And this time, David, let's start with you. Can you talk a little bit about what we're seeing with digital twins and what the retailers were talking about at NRF in our discussions?
Sure. This falls into that category, Cindy, of digital transformation and employing the appropriate digital tools to better inform decision-making and just business in general. Digital twins is a very unique technology. It's, to define it, it's digital replication of a physical asset in a virtual environment, which includes its functionality, its features, and its behavior. And we're using it now. It's been used in manufacturing for years and years, but now we're using it to replicate warehousing and supply chain issues, to store replication, and building out a virtual store, as it were, or virtual warehouse. The interactions there are very interesting because if you're utilizing robotics in a warehouse, for instance, you might want to know how the robots are interacting with your layout. What's the most efficient? You know, this virtual replica of that really improves the practice of business, whether it's in a warehouse or a store. It's being used to empower retailers to adapt more dynamically to the market demands, improve customer loyalty. If something isn't moving off of a shelf, we can now understand how long it's been sitting there, and they might want to move something else into that space or move something out of that space and reduce the price on it and clear it and replace it with something that's going to move a little bit faster. All of that can be done now by taking a look at what's going on in real time and forensically overlaying a virtual environment. You know, Doug, I think the big idea session this year was a really, really good one because it highlighted just that. You want to share a little bit about what your customer was doing in the digital twin and AI space?
Great, and well said, David. So yeah, thank you for that. And so we had a big idea session. For those of you familiar with NRF, we have big idea sessions there where we spotlight solutions and customers. And so we had on stage NVIDIA, Dell, and Lowe's, and executive management from all three organizations. And the focus of that session was, how is Lowe's leveraging AI, in the store experience? And so their CIO spoke about digital twins specifically, and it was very powerful. They actually rolled a video which it was a digital twin, and everybody in the room, of standing room only room, watching this video, all looked at each other like, is this a real store or is this a digital twin? I mean, it was that real. And so the power of that, we talk about simulation, right? The ability to simulate scenarios, simulate how we can optimize an aisle, as an example. So the CIO from Lowe's called out an example of the aisle that's focused on lighting. And what they were able to do in this digital twin, if you can visualize this, they were able to basically put either a green box, a yellow box, or a red box around each of the products that were on this aisle of, you picture hundreds of products in the lighting aisle at a Lowe's. And in the green represented it was a very fast selling product that was extremely, profitable. Yellow was medium, and red was products that weren't moving very fast. So you're able to kind of analyze that and say, okay, does it have to do with placement? Should we put these products in red on an end cap? Should we put them on sale? How can we optimize this space, right? So that simulation and the power of it also was, the CIO spoke to the fact that she's able to virtually tour a store, a new layout of a store, and have her get her C-level perspective on that experience. And so think about the power of that, rather than getting on a plane and flying to Atlanta to go see a store. The ability to just go on and see that store, in a digital twin format, just the power of that, and then just leveraging the data behind it, it just gets that much more powerful. So, and what they're seeing as a result of this is business outcomes. It's driving increased profitability, increased sales, improved efficiency and utilization of space within stores. So it was exciting. Thanks for calling that out, David. I think it was a great example of, how Dell, NVIDIA, and our retail customers can absolutely innovate and change their industries and delight customers and enable their associates.
Thank you, Doug. Digital twins powered by LLMs are evolving the industry. They're really enabling real-time simulation, optimization, and decision-making across ops. It's very cool to see the virtual replica of store supply chains and how they integrate with IoT, AI, and advanced analytics. They're amplifying the power of digital twins by analyzing unstructured data, predicting those twins, and enabling the natural language interactions. It's helping from store layouts to inventory or promotional impacts. We're seeing retailers in different places in this journey, and a lot of discussions and movement on digital twins. So thank you both for that. Now let's talk a little bit about data. David and Doug, generative AI needs a lot of data. Can you share how retailers are leveraging a data analytics platform and how these fit into the overall retail models and what we heard at NRF? Let's start with you, Doug.
Okay, great. So great call out, Cindy. So, ultimately everything starts with data, right? And data comes in all these different forms. So we heard this consistently at NRF. You've got unstructured data, structured data. You've got, in different locations in the cloud, on-prem. So it's really having a data management strategy, kind of getting the house in place before we can start looking at applications is really a critical step. And Dell, happens to be, experts in this category. So we talked with a lot of customers around, different sessions that we can come in and offer to help guide them through that process of getting a handle on their data. So that's number one. We heard that loud and clear as kind of the number one step. And then also the other piece that we talked about quite a bit was, what are the outcomes that they're trying to drive towards? What is the end in mind, so to speak, right? And David and Cindy and I talked a little bit about this, but what the end in mind that we kind of heard consistently from the C-levels, the IT directors, the VPs, and it was around people, and people being both associates, customers, shareholders, right, suppliers. So that was one category. The other was process, right? So how can they be more efficient? What tools can they use to do more with less, to be more centralized, to be more consistent in how they approach each store and each location? And then last was technology, which is kind of the underpin. But there was also certainly, Cindy, as you and I heard directly with many, and David as well, is security underpins everything, right? That without that, you really have risk that you're, introducing your organization to, and that needs to underpin everything. So that's kind of consistently what we heard is, having a data management strategy, focusing on what is the outcome that you're trying to drive towards. The three categories we heard consistently was people, process, technology, and then just working with really industry leaders like Dell, like NVIDIA, like ServiceNow to help get you there. So that's kind of the consistent feedback that we got. And what I wanted to mention is we offer these workshops that can help you get from point A to point B, and help prioritize and talk about that journey in bite-sized pieces, as opposed to it can get quite overwhelming, right?
Correct. Thank you, Doug. David?
Yeah, Cindy, Doug referenced quite a few things there. At the end of the day, it's an overused term, but data is the new oil or the new gold, as it were. And our retail friends are determining now just how valuable that data is, whether it's measuring the throughput at an individual QSR or specialty retailer, or measuring larger things in a warehouse, as Doug described at Lowe's. That's all data, and that data is empowered by and collected from an awful lot of devices. So, Dell and this team gets to work on a daily basis, helping our clients on everything from POS to handheld deployment to wireless devices. All of those are those data collectors at the edge, and our expertise in helping to select those, but also seeing how they're integrated together and what they provide. And this time we focused an awful lot at NRF on a computer vision or visual solutions that empower them too. If you could look into, as Doug described, the Lowe's warehouse, if you could just have eyes on what was going on those shelves all the time, well, you now have the ability to essentially do that. And the video component is a big one. We introduced, together with our friends at NVIDIA, NVIDIA's new search and summarization tool for video intelligence. That visual intelligence gives our folks eyes on, and it's a really important part of that data set, an integral part, as it were, of putting all of that together. Having the right product at the right place at the right time, and the technology to make sure that we harness that data and leverage and impact while having it all be secured. They do want to collect that data. They'll need to store some of that data. They'll make real-time and forensic decisions with that data, but it all needs to be done within a secure environment. And every one of the retailers to a T wanted to make sure that their data was going to be secure, because it is indeed the new gold.
Correct. So I think in my meetings, I heard a lot of the same thing. It's really data is the new gold, but then the solution and the landscape is changing with AI. So what retailers are looking is facilitating real-time data processing at the edge, allowing informed decisions to be made rapidly. And some of the themes that we saw here were looking at your data and analytics and how do you transform into actionable insights, drive growth and operational efficiency, but securing everything. And so with the market changing, the processes have to change. And so we had a lot of discussions on how Dell is helping harness the data, leverage and impact while securing everything. So great. Now we're going to go into the AI factory. And Scott, if you could bring up the AI factory slide. The Dell and NVIDIA AI Factory is our approach to help accelerate AI innovation in organizations of all sizes. It's comprised of a portfolio of products, solutions, and services optimized for AI workloads. It brings together these AI-optimized technologies with an open ecosystem of partners, validated and integrated solutions, expert services, and best practices to help customers or retailers achieve AI outcomes faster. David and Doug, can you talk a little bit more about the AI factory and what you see across retail, and talk about some of our conversations we had at NRF? Let's start with you, David.
Yeah, across retail, Cindy, is an interesting term because we serve clients who have their own data science departments, very extensive, hundreds of people who are deploying on Dell hardware and specify what their needs are as they meet the requirements of their organization, to the client that really needs help in figuring out where to start, where to prioritize, how to leverage this new technology, as it were, under their own roof. So the AI factory is this comprehensive solution designed to enhance and make safe and make comfortable adoption by providing the retailers with the necessary infrastructure, the solutions attached to that, and the services that are attached to that, helping them with their workflows to achieve the outcomes that they identify. If they could, what would they do with this? So what information are they looking for? It really integrates all of Dell's portfolio for client devices, servers, storage, all of the data protection and networking in an ecosystem of technology partners, and again, all safe and secure. Our goal is really to offer other approaches, greater control over their AI deployments across on-prem, edge, cloud environments, and enable retailers to transform data into actionable insights and outcome, be they large or small. Doug, what did you hear? What did I miss?
Well, I think everything you said is just absolutely spot on, David. And, just to offer another kind of perspective on that, we had a lot of conversations around, as you can see on our outcomes, business outcomes. And what we try to do is really translate that to specific use cases. So we had a lot of conversations at NRF with customers around, okay, what use cases, now that we know the outcome, you want to improve, reduce labor cost. So let's talk about use cases. Are we talking about things like revenue protection, frictionless retail, safety and security, in-store analytics, and all these different use cases, right? And so what we found ourselves talking with customers about was let's define those. Let's work together and collaborate to define those use cases. But the other thing that I want to make sure we underscore here is when a lot of folks think of Dell Technologies and our partners, you think of infrastructure as laid out here in the gray category. But if you look above that in the open ecosystem, that's a category that Dell absolutely thrives. So we do a lot of validation testing where we can help you, like say, once you've defined that outcome and that use case, okay, here are some leading ISVs, independent software vendors that we have tested, that we've validated, and that we have seen to drive outcomes in your specific retail category. So we're going to recommend them, and we can test them in your environment through a proof of concept. We can test it in our customer solution center labs on Dell infrastructure. So I think what we are able to do is it's really an end-to-end story. It's not just a server. It's the software. It's the services. It's the consultative approach with folks like on this call right here, where we can work with you to define those things, and then we can back into the infrastructure and the software that's going to make that happen. So that seemed to be a consistent talk track in the way we engage with customers at NRF, and will continue throughout I think FY25.
Thank you, Doug. While we're talking about the AI factory, and let's just expand on some of the use cases. So we saw a lot of interest in the virtual assistant, and one as it comes out in over 65 languages. And
Yes.
so that was something that people really, really liked. And then some of the questions were, how can you help me with POS? I was trained for a couple of hours. I'm now on a register, and I have questions on how to close at end of day. How many registers are open? Do you have too many? Do you not have enough? Should people be adding product to shelf? There were so many different use cases that we talked about. Do you want to expand, each of you, on some of the use cases here with the factory that we saw?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
David, would you like me to start? Go ahead, David.
Yeah, just briefly, Doug. We'd be totally remiss if we didn't call out the fact that the Dell AI Factory is done in conjunction with our friends at NVIDIA. Obviously, we deploy AI frameworks and models on optimized platforms that are platformed on Dell and leverage NVIDIA GPU to process. And that processing power gives us the power to render some of the services and outcomes and workflows that you discussed, Doug, previously. So I'm going to go back briefly to the video piece, since that's a big part of my background. When we are out there sharing the search and summarization tools that NVIDIA has just released, or the store shopping tools, automating processes and reporting by exception and anomaly. So, for instance, somebody in a slip and fall, somebody doing a shelf sweep in a retailer, somebody waiting in line for 10 minutes and then suddenly just abandoning that line. Being able to determine those behaviors requires a look in and an ability to see what's actually going on in the business. Having that search and summarization done is very helpful, and that's platformed on Dell with NVIDIA, and uniquely so. Doug, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine, David. That was excellent. So, I mean, some of the things that I heard, Cindy, I'm looking at my notes here from some of the various meetings that we had, and I'm just going to read back, and that we're having follow-up sessions on with these customers that have specific ask and use cases. So conversational AI for store navigation was a category, product recommendations, product design, virtual assistants. We heard things around traffic flow analysis, understanding the kind of the customer journey. Things like occupancy sensing, and not just people counting, but true occupancy sensing, where a store can really understand where customers are at any given time, and ensuring that the appropriate ratio of associates are in those areas to assist. Things like preventing line abandonment was a category that we're working with a specific client on. NCAP analysis, I have a note with that, or with a specific retailer that we spoke with. gosh, addressing shrink certainly is a category that we all hear quite a bit about in the retail industry. Things like OR, organized retail crime. How do we address that? What's an approach that we should really think about? So, and then point of sale.
Unlocking cabinets, Doug, was one too. You brought up a good one. So having to unlock the cabinet, do I have to track down an associate, or can a computer vision tell me to send an associate that I've been dwelling at that cabinet that needs to be unlocked?
Absolutely, yeah, that's a great point, right? So, and then like with point of sale, Cindy, you mentioned a little bit about that. Like, mobile point of sale is very popular, an area that Dell's working with customers with follow-up meetings, self-service, right? This, through Dell, be it Dell or some of our third-party peripheral partners, we offer these self-service solutions like QSR and C stores are categories that are very focused in that area. Store alerts was a category that was just alerting staff, and then like distribution centers, right? We talked a lot about micro fulfillment centers, how to automate those processes, improving automation in warehouses, and just overall operation improvements. I'm just kind of reading through some of my notes and some of the things that I have direct follow up on from NRF with specific retail customers. So,
thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for the use cases. I think that's helpful. Let's get to lessons. Let's talk about hurdles and lessons. This is with generative AI. Can you discuss some of the hurdles to navigate? Doug, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I think what I heard pretty consistently at NRF is just where to start in this journey, which use cases are going to drive the greatest impact, and really kind of let's start with a use case and let's execute on that. This whole analysis paralysis, we heard that consistently, Cindy, from retailers at NRF. We're evaluating, we're doing a lot of executive meetings around this, but we haven't really rolled out anything that's in production today that's of any significance. And so we heard that pretty consistently. And so kind of my lesson learned or feedback to the folks in attendance here today is, be bold, think about how you can innovate and change your industry and change your customer experience, and work with Dell and NVIDIA and ServiceNow, or industry leaders. Let's just say it that way. It could be Dell, it could be somebody else, but certainly Dell is a leader in this category. But we can help you. We can help to set those priorities, to understand, and align it with. Let's align it with your shareholder, shareholder return, right? What's in the 10K report in terms of initiatives to drive improved performance for the organization. Let's align it directly to those initiatives and those goals so that we can impact the bottom line. But I would just say right now there's a fair amount of a little bit of hesitancy, concern about things like security, things about staying out of the headlines, or not wanting to roll out something that's going to fail miserably. Don't be bold, don't be afraid to fail, and let's start small. Let's start with these operational efficiencies that we talked about versus it can be an operational efficiency that directly impacts the customer experience. And the example I gave with giving a digital assistant to the associates, not necessarily the customer, but to the associates, so they can help their customers that come through the stores more efficiently. I think that's probably the lessons learned, or the area that I think the challenges that retailers are faced with.
Yeah, what I saw also is retailers that were starting with a pilot project to demonstrate value and then gain the organizational buy-in, invest in the right infrastructure, focus on building that data strategy, ensure quality integration and compliance. And the retailers that were fostering a culture of innovation around AI were getting much further along. So they were equipping,
Well said.
their employees were equipped with the right tools, and it's all about delivering that exceptional service to the customer. So the retailers that are doing that, I see as getting much further along. David, do you want to give some examples?
Well, just a couple of observations, Cindy. At the end of the day, these trade shows and NRF was very successful this year. I don't know what the final attendance was, but there were an awful lot of retailers that are looking for AI solutions. And there were an awful lot of providers on the floor that had something, an AI behind their name. Most of them, thank you for keeping this drawing up, we're concentrating on the services, that green segment on the top of what we're providing in the AI factory model. Very few of them will come in and do a 6-hour workshop for you and spend the time going through, the data you have as a retailer, the outcomes. You may be able to define those outcomes, and I bet even during this webinar, some of those outcomes have been expanding in your mind, the things that you're looking for. But to have a comprehensive approach like Cindy just talked about on the infrastructure, a data-first approach to the marketplace in particular, and then being able to integrate that data from disparate systems and build an open ecosystem and yet secure ecosystem. A lot of providers out there don't have that turnkey ability for a universal ecosystem view of things, wherein, more importantly, perhaps, most of these have been validated on a Dell platform with NVIDIA GPU. Our labs work tirelessly to select the right partners and validate them, and a coveted validation is an NVIDIA and Dell validation, because at the end of the day, you can proceed just a little more safely, a little more securely, knowing that Dell and NVIDIA are behind that. I spoke to a retailer yesterday again who appreciated that approach, and they're going to take our offer up for the free 6-hour workshop because they have so much siloed data, and they don't know how to aggregate that necessarily and make it all work to the benefit of the business. So there's perceived investment out there. It's not that difficult to get started, and it incorporates everything that Dell does, all the way from the edge through data lake, a cloud-first strategy, as opposed to strictly in the cloud, and what a store needs to look like, and what that transport mechanism and the automation mechanisms are in between, so that they can leverage small language learning models, large language learning models, and video language models to the benefit of the enterprise that they're running. So,
Thank you. So guys, we had questions from retailers, and what are some of the questions to consider when implementing AI? Let's start with you this time, David.
Yeah. We're not asking a retailer to think outside of their own business plan. It's interesting how many 10Ks are out there that acknowledge the fact that technology is changing rapidly, and admitting that it's difficult to keep up with those things. That's where we can come alongside and help. But you don't have to boil the ocean. I think Doug mentioned it earlier. Let's start out with those half a dozen outcomes that you're looking for in a particular pain point or a particular area. Do you have a strategy that aligns with your business plan? That's the most important part, I think. And then, how do you balance value creation and risk management in that equation? All of those pieces roll up. These are business questions that they're asking beyond the technology, And we can certainly help with that technology with an eye towards that business piece. So I think the baseline question is, what's the problem you're trying to solve? Just starting from there, and you'll wind up, I was with another retailer at the end of last week, right after NRF, who came up with, they had 16 different places where they wanted to apply AI to, and as soon as they communicated it to their organization, that quadrupled. And so prioritizing those things, actually getting them on the table, and it's facilitating conversations about the use of data in an enterprise that didn't happen heretofore, particularly in a retail enterprise.
Okay, great. Doug?
Yeah, so great points, David. Excellent, well said. And one thing that questions that we got a little bit around was around the role of the cloud. The cloud versus on-prem, right? So when you think of Dell, you probably naturally think of on-prem. And as we see it, the cloud will continue to play a role. And we call it, multi-cloud by design, right? There's certain workloads that can be performed in the cloud. There's certain workloads that demand on-prem, performance and infrastructure. But I wanted to just point out that, Dell works with all of the hyperscalers very closely with validated solutions that are in many cases multi-cloud or involves some on-prem at the edge in some cases, all depending on the workload. But it's as opposed to being multi-cloud by default, it's more multi-cloud by design. And we can craft these solutions. It's not an all or nothing proposition. It's not all cloud. It's not all prem. It's a combination in many cases. And so I wanted to just kind of call that out because, I think any organization that's going to be optimized, it's going to be a combination of on-prem and cloud, infrastructure to drive these outcomes.
Thank you, Doug. Well said. So as we wrap up today, can you share your keys to success and lessons learned for the audience to take away? Doug, let's start with you this time.
Yeah. So, for me, the most important thing is the people aspect of this business. The technology and process. Those are things over that are sitting over here. To me, the number one thing is people, right? It's the associates that work in the stores. It's the executive management and giving them insights into the performance of the stores. It's working with suppliers and customers, and it's the people that really are going to shape and define, I think, the success of a retailer. That's going to define it. In my view, that's kind of the difference maker. When I think about retailers that are being highly successful, and we can all think of those in our mind. In many cases, it's the people that make the difference. And so, what's exciting is I think Dell offers a portfolio that can enable people to do their jobs and to be more efficient at what they're doing and improve that overall experience for everyone. So that would be my
Doug.
perspective. Yeah.
All right, David. David?
Yeah, Cindy, sorry about that. It's the idea of technology, as Doug said, at the service of innovation all the way around. Technology can be kind of intimidating to folks, and we got into a question with a retailer recently that they wanted to know where else this was deployed. And the particular ISV that I was working with, who was providing solutions and we brought to the table as a Dell partner, said, this is moving every 6 months, but what you do now is being built in such a way to be scalable as you move forward. So I think the be not afraid motto is a good one, and picking the right partners along the way, and where we've helped to determine and pre-select some of those folks, not based on relationship, but based on the leveraging of those technologies together in the service of the retailer, and who needs to provide for both associate and customer, and improve operations. And essentially, bottom line, retail is changing very quickly. We're at a unique inflection point, and a unique intersection with our retail customers and the adoption of technology. They have to make an awful lot of decisions, and making those decisions, we help mitigate risk, we help inform, and we help deploy all the way through. So, enabling the retailer to really spend time where they need to spend their time, and know that they've made some technology decisions that are going to serve them both now and in the future. So don't have to boil the ocean, but it is time to get started. And a good place to do that is with the Dell AI Factory, powered by NVIDIA and Dell.
Thank you, David. So what I heard today is it's make the employee's job easier, improve customer satisfaction, improve your net promoter scores. And how do you do that? The key to success is leveraging AI in retail, lies in adopting a data-first strategy supported by scalable infrastructure that can enable insights and edge-driven decision-making. It's critical to prioritize high-performance solutions like Dell Native Edge and AI-optimized servers that can process vast amounts of data efficiently while maintaining compliance with privacy regulations. We really need ML ops to ensure a seamless deployment, monitoring, and updating of your models. And then we partner with the ecosystem of technology providers that can accelerate innovation. It's critical to focus on ethics and transparency to build trust by addressing concerns as well. Dell fosters a culture of innovation, and we believe that we can help with pilot projects, with long-term projects, and expand to transform retail operations and customer experiences. So I tried to break it down, but I think that's what we talked about today. So now we'll look at a couple of questions. Scott, do we have any questions out there?
Yeah, we sure do. The first question here comes from Paul, who's wondering, is AI in retail better positioned to make the biggest impact for customer experience at general retail or boutique stores, which are already keyed into more personalized, focused CX? It's a really interesting question. I don't know if anybody wants to tackle that one.
David, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think it's a both and, Scott, or Paul. At the end of the day, it's a matter of scale, priority, and outcomes required. Each of us, Cindy, Doug, and I, have the privilege of being geographic. So that means we work across big box and specialty retailers, QSRs, and C-stores, and each has their own unique flavor or requirement when it comes to outcomes. It could be stocking shelves in a big box warehouse, or tracking the number of cars that go through a QSR drive-up lane. The same principles are going to apply when it comes to the infrastructure, the ecosystem. It's just a different brand of outcomes, and AI is enhancing whether or not the retailer knows it. They're being supplied by folks that are using AI. They're competing with folks that are using AI. AI is now ubiquitous across each of those planes. I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a both and with different applications coming from each end. My counterparts?
Agreed.
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it, David. I agree with you, everything you just said. I mean, obviously, large footprint stores, there's a lot of more efficiencies that can be gained in, I think, a large footprint store. But, man, we work with, smaller footprint retailers that have a lot of exciting AI initiatives in place. So it just all depends on what you're trying to, drive towards. And I can think of a handful of customers right now that fall on both boutique and large, more big box. Or so there's opportunity, I think, to innovate in both categories.
Think about you're at a convenience and you're looking at how long you spend in the gas line. Are you holding that up? Or are you shopping? Think about in a boutique, did you convert when you went in and tried in a fitting room? Did you purchase that product? Think about how long the associate is speaking to you in a boutique situation, and did you convert that to an actual sale? So those are some of the things that we can look at.
Okay, excellent.
Scott, any other questions?
Yeah, we probably got time for one more. This one came from Sarah, who asked, as a business partner relatively new to the AI space, could you explain how Dell leverages its strategic partnerships with companies like NVIDIA? What scope of work or benefits do these partnerships bring to the table? And how does Dell determine what to develop in-house versus what to achieve through collaboration? So that's a $100 million question or more, but anybody want to grab that one?
Doug, do you want to take that one?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'll use NVIDIA just as an example. Ultimately, as we see it, Dell plays a really critical role because we actually manufacture the equipment that's going to be on-prem. We provide the services around that. But companies like NVIDIA are the engine, right? So, for that specific workload. But to give you a quick example of how we would work with NVIDIA, like they do a fair amount of ISV testing, as does Dell, and they happen to do a lot of testing on Dell infrastructure. So we're able to validate solutions with our partners like NVIDIA. We're able to leverage their platform for application development as well. So there's opportunity. Those are a couple of examples where they do testing and then they have a platform for development that we see as valuable to the customer. But it's ultimately delivered by Dell. So Dell oftentimes obviously we provide the infrastructure, we provide the services. So it's a very complementary partnership that we have, and we work very closely. I can tell you that three of us talk on a almost daily basis with our counterparts at NVIDIA in that specific example.
Okay. Excellent. Well, that's probably where we're going to need to leave it. And just wanted to put up the presenter slide again, just to thank the three of you for being here, and just to encourage everybody, if you do want to follow up with these folks, Cindy Carlson, Doug Miller, David Waddell, look them up on LinkedIn and reach out. So to the three of you, thank you so much. This has been a fantastic discussion. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, we're going to let those guys go, and we will move on to our prize drawing. That's the Amazon gift card prize drawing, and the winner of the $250 gift card today is Peter Nyland from Virginia. So congratulations to Peter Nyland. We'll be in touch to get you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Smart Brief team, I want to thank Dell Technologies for making this event possible. And thanks as always for attending and for your great questions. That's going to conclude today's event. Have a fantastic rest of your day.